All right, guys, we're moving a little bit from our doing those things right to doing the right things, but still in the blurred line. So I've kind of talked about this. I'm Michael Rosmer with Richucation. We're today talking about the ultimate productivity guide, okay? What we're going to talk about today, very, very big deal, especially in your business, especially as you grow. This is one of the key things that will compound. Well, it's like the basis of compounding, basically. All of this stuff, none of this compounds. So the impact here is relatively low. Yes, does it matter? Does it make a difference? Should you apply it? Absolutely. Will you have an advantage over somebody who doesn't? Absolutely not. Or sorry, absolutely yes. But compounding is such an enormous thing in terms of your long-term, like this stuff is very short-term, okay? Yeah, short-term it's going to work for you, great. If you think about, here's an example. This is, okay. How do we as society advance, okay? It's all about this subject that we are talking about, which is what we call built to last, okay? Built to last. And here's the example. Native Americans, they spend hundreds of years, you know what? They were probably very good on these in a lot of respects. They're probably energetic, hardworking, driven, you know, could run faster than the Europeans, you know, could fight harder, they could probably outwork them, you know. Obviously it was less of a knowledge-based society at the time, so, you know, you can take that for what it is. But what was their big gap? What was the advantage the Europeans had? Built to last. Native Americans, they set up their house, then they take their house down. They move somewhere. They set up their house, they take their house down. They move somewhere. They're following the herds. Europeans, like one of the big developments that pushed us forward was the development of agriculture, right? When we developed agriculture, now what happened? Now we could build fixed houses. We were no longer nomadic, right? What does that mean? Well, now all of a sudden, all the energy that goes from setting up and setting down is gone. We set it up once, it lasts for 100 years. Way better, right? Our efficiency was dramatically improved. This is doing the right things, okay? As opposed to doing those things right. Very, very big deal. Huge, huge, huge. So I'm going to mention this. Compounding, okay? This is one of the most high impact things that you can do in your personal life and your business, okay? Is built to last. And what this means is paying attention to what needs to be done and finding ways to do something once that you don't have to redo it again. Okay? So, what are some of the ways that we do this? There are 4 ways, okay? 4 pieces to built to last that we are going to pay attention to here. The first one of those ways, actually I'm going to change colors because I have a feeling this marker is not going to work so well. The first of those ways is systematic. Systemize. What does systemize do? Systemization avoids having to relearn. Okay? Avoid relearning. We consume a tremendous amount of time, energy, resources, etc. learning. Okay? The 2 most expensive things we do typically in our business are learn, figure out what we need to do, and 2, get customers. Okay? Those 2 things are typically the most expensive things we do. So here, we're systemizing so we avoid having to relearn. And we can do this organizationally where we learn, we systemize, and now we have somebody else do the system, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Okay? So by far, being able to systemize, I went through like this phase where I said, okay, I was big on systems, you know, the McDonald's thing, and I found, and they're kind of overrated, and, you know, moved away from focus on systemization, went to assets as being this big thing, and then I've come back to understanding the significance of systemization. So you absolutely want to systemize, okay? The things that you're doing, you want to systemize them. Here's the idea. Changing is the enemy of scale, okay? If things are constantly being reinvented, that's going to prevent you from scaling. People come to me and they say, hey, look, how do I scale my business? If you cannot systemize it, if you cannot make a process repeatable, then you're going to have a very hard time scaling. Okay? This is like a foundational piece. So, what does systemizing mean? It means coming up with a repeatable process. Okay? And that you can then document that repeatable process and so that, you know, somebody else can learn it. You just keep going through that process over and over again, okay? And it feeds into our next thing, which is template. Okay? So whereas this is avoid relearning, this one here is avoid redoing. Okay? So if I template something, I take a document that normally I would, as an example, we did this in international corporate structuring where we do this big design, big assessment. It's like about 35-page long assessment for clients. Okay, goes through all their situation. Well, now there's certain parts of that need to be changed, but part of it is an explanation so that they understand what is necessary in order to get them to the result that they want. And so we template that process so that we avoid redoing. Okay, takes the process down from, you know, whatever. It reduces it in half, basically. Well, maybe not half. It reduces the writing process by at least half. The research process is a little different. But can I template if I haven't systemized? Not really, right? So I have to systemize in order to template. And there's lots of things you can template, right? You can template, I mean, the design of clothes. You can template recipes. You can template shopping. You can template organization. You know, lots of different things, right? The idea is that you can take that template and it doesn't need to get redone. So what you're doing, all this stuff is about being productive, getting more done in the amount of time. Here, there's less that you need to do. So if there's less that you need to do, then let's say you have half as much to do. Then you could be operating at half the capacity of these guys and getting as much done. Very big deal. So people come to me all the time. One of the things that, you know, I've done quite well for myself is lifestyle entrepreneur type thing. Right? And so I'll have clients, I'll just say, hey, you know, I want to be able to live like you do. You know, and you seem to have your time as your own, right? Great, absolutely. How does that happen? That happens in large part because of these, okay? Very, very big deal. Because of the fact that I have to do less. What I always tell people, it's a very simple thing. If you want to do different things with your time, you have to give up some of the things you're doing with your time. You have to reduce what you're doing in order to have more time to do something else, okay? And so these are ways that you do that. The systemizing will help a little bit. This will help a lot. The systemizing is going to help because of later things when you can outsource, etc. Okay? And because you can't template until you systemize. So, very, very important. Those are two pieces. And you can think about template, like when you build a house, that's kind of like the same thing. Okay? Think about this. Going back to kind of the Native American European example, if you build, let's say you need to cross a river, okay, this is the example I always give people. I might have given it to you in another video, or maybe you haven't seen it, I can't even remember it, so that it's definitely been on one of the action class calls where we've talked about this. This is the way that you advance. This is the way that you are building the company as opposed to doing the work of the company. So when we talk, it's one of the distinctions you hear about is, are you working in your business or on your business? This is on your business. This is like $500, $1,000, $5,000 an hour work, depending on how much you can leverage it. Okay? Very, very important. So I need to cross the river. All right. What are my options? Well, I could go swim. Okay? Great. I swim across the river. Takes quite a bit of energy. Maybe I learned to be a good swimmer, all these things, right? Now, what can I do to improve that? Well, I could swim across with a rope, string a rope across, and now I'm going to pull myself across. Okay? What have I just done? I've built something to last that's going to speed up the process and decrease the effort each time from them on, and other people can use it. Okay? So there's a compounding effect the more people use that rope. What could I do to take that a step further? Well, I could go and I could get out some wood, chop down some trees, and build a bridge. Okay? What's the impact of that? Again, it's going to further save me time because there's less to do. There's less physical exertion again, right? I don't have to be pulling myself across this rope. I'm probably getting wet, right? So I don't have to dry my clothes. It's more efficient. And again, lots of people can take advantage of it. Probably a lot more people can cross that bridge than the rope. The bridge is probably going to last longer. Like the rope will probably break, wear out sooner than the bridge will, right? And you can probably get multiple people all across all at the same time. It's just much more efficient, right? Then I can go from there to building a stone bridge, which is going to have all these benefits of the bridge, but instead of lasting for, how long does the bridge last for? Like maybe 30 years? The stone bridge lasts for 300 years, okay? So, yeah, it's a little more cost, Up front, it's got less value, but in the long run, huge value. So that's utilization, okay? Now, should you systemize everything? Should you template everything? Should you build everything to last? No. A big problem people have is that they systemize too early. Okay? You don't systemize something the first time you do it. You get it right, then you systemize it. You get it right, then you template it. You don't start off by building a template. You start off by doing it, testing and measuring to see how it works. Then when it works, then you template it. Okay? A lot of people they like hear this thing about, oh, McDonald's, I'm going to make my business like a McDonald's. And it's going to No. You have to there's a sequence, and the sequence matters a lot. Okay? You don't show up at every river that you reach, and you're like, I'm going to build a stone bridge. No. Only if you're going to be crossing that bridge a lot is it worth it to go and build this bridge. Probably the first time you swim across it. Right? You say, hey, what's on the other side? Am I actually going to want to go there again? Am I going to actually want to come back? Maybe if I've got people with me, I might take the rope across. Okay? They come across, great, we're a little bit ahead of the game. Then, if we decide, okay, we're going to be doing this regularly, then it pays off to build this. So, why? Because I could spend a lot of energy, I could waste a lot building that bridge, and then not use it, and my ROI was worse, right? My productivity actually dropped. So built to last can kill your productivity if you're building things that don't have high utilization. This is where our 3 dimensions of value come in, right? Pay attention to what's the output, what's the utilization, what's the cost. Those 3 things. If our utilization is 0, then the cost is infinite, right? If our value is 0, right? Doesn't matter what it cost. Could have cost virtually nothing. It was not worth it. Okay? So that's something to pay attention to here. And this is how come these concepts layer, right? And it's very, very foundational that if you pay attention to those, and you can come over here, you can say, okay, how do I increase my utilization? Well, I should systemize. Very important that complexity is the enemy of growth. Okay? So we want to reduce complexity. We want to simplify. We do that by systemizing. Variation is the enemy of scale. Okay? So we want to systemize. Then we want to template. That's going to bring us to our next one. And this kind of is another one here. Now we have tools. Okay? Tools. What do tools do? They allow us to do more. Okay? If you try and take a rock and pound a nail into a board, how well is that going to work for you? Well, better than with your hand. But compared to a hammer, you just boosted your productivity massively. Nail gun? Way more. If you want to go and dig a ditch using your hands, not very good. You have a shovel? Much better. A backhoe? Way better. Okay? So pay attention to tools. This is, again, it's kind of a blend of these, right? Because the tool isn't the thing that you're doing, so it's not really the right thing, right? But it's the right thing in doing this. Okay? So get tools. Pay attention to tools that will... And these things here all are going to enable the last thing. Okay? Because here's the economics of it. All right? If I hire somebody to do a task and the maximum work that they can do is worth $15 an hour, what can I pay them? Not $15 an hour, right? I guess I could pay them $15 an hour, but not really, right? Because it's all being consumed. The reason that I could is because it's freeing me up from doing something else, which then has, my impact is greater, so it's worth it, right? But the real key, the way that I want to run my organization, is I want to hire people who I can pay them $20 an hour or $50 an hour, and their output is $500 an hour. And how do I do that? I take them, I give them a system that makes them more efficient than what they would be normally. I give them templates so they can accomplish more. I give them tools so that they can avoid having to redo the stuff, right? I give them tools which are going to turn around and maximize how much they can get done, right? This not only allows you to get so much more done and be so much more profitable, but it also allows you to pay your people better, which allows you to keep them longer, which allows you to get better people, and all these things, right? So the last piece is automate or delegate. Automate / delegate. And the goal is to automate first and delegate what cannot be automated. Because then the people you're delegating to can use the automation in order to get better results. Perfect. This is great because their value just went up. If you want to like build a very successful organization, help each person deliver more value. Okay? And do it by using these things. All these things, really, right? If they're more productive, they have less distractions, etc. All of this is going to be helpful. By the way, just to backtrack here, we talk about distractions, but the reality is, and we kind of mentioned it before, sometimes in environment perspective, you want to be able to engage with people. That might increase your productivity, right? So there's a social side to this whole focus conversation. All right. So build to last. Automate, delegate. What does that do? It basically reduces how much needs to be done, right? So this is do more, and this here is, in a sense, do less. Do less. The challenge is sometimes, and should you be the one systemizing everything? No. Sometimes the best thing to do is to hire someone who's already systemized it, right? This is when I go to a restaurant, I'm just going to say, hey, look, you guys come up with the recipes. You come up with how to manage the kitchen and clean things, etc. I'm repaying for this learning. Like, they're benefiting from it. They're benefiting from their templating. They're benefiting from their tools, right? So it's costing me a little extra because they get that upside. But overall, what ends up happening, I'm like, hey, this is great because I have to do less, okay? So it's not always up to you to systemize. It's not always up to you to template. It's not always up to you to get the tools. You could delegate that stuff. Usually, and so that should mean that they can charge less, right? Because they're more efficient at it than you are. That's perfect. But definitely pay attention to these things, okay? You want to avoid relearning, avoid redoing, you want to do more, and you want to do less. Okay? And those are the 4 levers that we have for built to last. These things in your business and in your life are super, super important, and we look at it across the essential business process. Hope that's helpful. Hope it gives you some ideas about how to apply, and really, this one here, long term, will far outstrip the boost in productivity that you get from these 2. If you're just mediocre at these 2, but you're great at this one, this one has a compounding effect. So day 1, this doesn't boost your productivity. It takes longer to systemize. It takes longer to template. It takes longer to get tools. It takes longer to automate and delegate. You have to hire somebody. And a lot of people will be like, I can just do it myself. It's like, yeah, today you could. Tomorrow you could. You have to hire somebody, then you have to train them, you have to manage them, you have to all this stuff. But a year from now, you're way ahead. 5 years from now, you're so far ahead that these guys will never catch up. Right? This is kind of like the tortoise. It's not even the tortoise and the hare. It's, I don't know, there's got to be like a good parable or something for it. Maybe I'll have to come up with one to kind of illustrate how this, there's this downward curve at first, but then it picks up. But you want to do that once you've already learned. Once you know that there's demand. Once you know that this is something that we're going to be redoing. If you're not going to be redoing it, then all this is a waste. Unless you could delegate still. If you're talking about, hire somebody else to do it. But once you know that you're redoing it, this is going to be like big, big deal. Okay? I hope that helps. We're going to jump into the next video and continue our ultimate productivity guide here. And really get into boosting to the next level. So we're going to go to step 4 on the next video. I will see you guys soon.